Hello, this is Luke Fictitious. I have started a petition titled Heal the Damage Done to the Entertainment Industry, or more importantly, performers from Brexit. A link to the petition can be found at lukefictitious.com. Wherever you live, feel free to circulate these links on social media platforms. For example, the links can be retweeted from my Twitter account. This petition I started before finding one that had some of the same goals, which I did sign, titled Seek Europe-Wide Visa-Free Work Permit for Touring Professionals and Artists. My petition is asking for greater consideration for performing artists coming to the divided kingdom, and for all of the entertainment types to be considered in both directions. It is necessary to have additional add-ons to this subject because, for one, there is a limited amount of space for words of government's parliament partition, and for two, it is easy for someone starting such a petition to overlook an item of importance. My petition is currently live and working on the 38 Degrees website, which you can access also from lukefictitious.com. And once enough signatures are gathered, they will be forwarded to the UK's Parliament. Also, this is likely to become an ongoing issue. The time to negotiate this has already passed, but the problem is not solved. Therefore, it is an issue that must continue on and on and on. The 38 Degrees petition starts at default 100 signatures, and then the amount of signatures needed goes up over time. It would be best to have over 10,000 signatures, which is the number required by the Parliament petition. This petition might be submitted at a different time, for example 6 months or a year later. Considering how long they've already dragged along Brexit with leaving so many pieces yet to be worked out. If you live in the UK, well, go ahead and sign it. Signing a petition is not a vote. It is to raise awareness or to encourage a debate on an issue, while in some countries it might put in the issue on a voting ballot. This is not the case right now in the United Kingdom. There could and probably should be a petition sent to the European Parliament, but that needs to be started by an EU citizen, and British people no longer fit into that category. When the UK first spoke about leaving the EU, I thought it was going to be every bit as bad as it turned out to be, only a lot worse and a lot sooner. Since I started this petition, I have been learning more about the subject. As it turns out, from a performer's perspective, things have not changed much for myself. There was a time I was contemplating applying for UK citizenship, but not with some of the things I've seen, and this is a big one. Now, from a very small time talent employer perspective, this is just one big obstacle for employers not to be able to easily consider people from the continent. This will certainly also put off a lot of medium and large employers because they might not require to have such cutting-edge talent that they need to consider people from an international level, and all the additional hassle Brexit has now brought with it. If I would have had the ability to voice my opinion in the UK's non-legally binding public opinion-seeking referendum, which is not the same as a ballot initiative as it is in the US or some other countries, my opinion would have been to remain, and I suspect that a large part of Britain will be fighting to get back some of what they've lost for years. Whatever unclear financial gains like free ports, which are great for moving pirated goods and stolen artworks, and being prone to employment exploitation, or tax havens for the rich, or escaping the EU's environmental regulations that have been known to kill, hospitalize, and shorten people's lives, or maybe the loss of the ability to appeal to a higher EU court that might be able to act upon human values rather than government-paid, protective, authoritative corruption, with judges deciding against their own laws for the sake of their own sadistic satisfaction. These gains were too attractive to consider the damage done to at least hundreds of thousands living in the UK and some of the millions of British people living in mainland Europe, and too attractive for those who will benefit to consider the real-life consequences to a lot of people, or consider that perhaps the larger public opinion had changed since the referendum. There has certainly been a great many instances of authoritative corruption against individuals in the last few years, for example with the war against men, and most recently the George Floyd openly deliberate aim of extreme harm that ended in undeniable manslaughter. But sometimes after years of civil battles to enforce the rights people already have by law, a tipping point is reached and people simply set the police station on fire. That being said, Brexit is about over 1 million people suffering a setback. It is not something you would expect from a developed Western country. So of course there will be a great many people who would like to rejoin the EU. But I don't think the wealthy people who have profited or stand to profit in the future are likely to let go whatever financial advancements they have gained. I must point out that the entertainment industry and performers do not necessarily need to be the ones to try to stop free ports filled with goods from, for example, Saudi Arabia. Although well known for its human rights abuses, kings and queens from Saudi Arabia have become a big part of Britain, being seen with royals at the Queen's Speech, buying some of the most prestigious homes, and according to the security, which I did cooperate with and moved right along, the land and or building the London Mayor's office sits on at South Bank. So, do you really think the UK is going to be able to rejoin the EU? It feels like it's more than what half the people would like, but right now I'm thinking that it might be more productive to start encouraging some of the patchwork to be applied. Hopefully your life is not so pathetic you watch the government's parliament debate December 30th, 2020, but I watched a couple pieces and there was very little mentioned about the entertainment sector. However, Theresa May did mention the financial sector, but with considering the amount of time and expense and turmoil these issues have cost so many residents of the divided kingdom and the larger group, that is the European Union, should we not let the financial sector move to the continent and redevelop the City of London and Canary Wharf into affordable housing? Or have we already started that? The UK has some beautiful country, some beautiful city, and plenty of reasonable people. So entertainers should not allow Brexiteers and government employees to represent their alienating point of view. One thing my petition does at the start is ask for consideration for EU citizens coming to the divided kingdom. I believe that entertainment should be as open as possible. It is an important break from the mundane. As for myself, I consider the best entertainment can provide an escape or an alternative way of thinking, and that everyone should be eligible for this, even British people. Tracy Brabin, MP, did mention that a T5 work permit had been developed for entertainment coming into the divided kingdom, and questioned why nothing had been developed for one of Britain's most successful exports, the British performing arts. I believe that Tracy Brabin mislabels this as generous. The T5 work permit is only generous if the offer for employment is generous. For the most part, the cancelling of freedom of movement is very limiting for EU performers. At least I don't think this is what entertainment should be about. What I think might follow the financial requirements of possibly some countries will be artistic censorship. If you have ever applied for grants in the UK, you will know that groups like the Arts Council and Film Council are not primarily concerned with art. They are first concerned with your business model, and second, with does your art match their checklist. For example, is it family friendly, like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? And is it politically correct? That is Snow White a black disabled transsexual? And are the dwarves representing all the various heights, shapes, and sizes in society so that there is no height discrimination? And finally, do you know someone who works there? So, if you're not lucky enough to fulfill that criteria, let's go back to the financial considerations. So if the current work permit fee is £244 to come into Britain, with a deduction for EU member states and some countries to £189, so around €200, plus the price of bureaucratic paperwork, a biometrics card, and proving that you have over £1,270 in the bank, and a healthcare surcharge of £624 per year, it basically looks like over £2,000 per person. That's more. That's if you have a group of 4, that would be £8,000 you would need to demonstrate that you have between you. In addition, if you're bringing music equipment or stage props to UK, you need an ATA Carnet. The .gov.uk website is suggesting this might be £325.96. If you're a drummer or a piano player, you might be able to rent or borrow and then do a couple shows for free. Maybe get tips for playing covers through your Patreon. But for so many others, like synth players for example, they're just not going to be able to rent Keith Emerson's Moog or even a Kawai 5000 if they spend too much time putting together combis. If you reverse this, what would appear to be required is currently a work permit for each country for British citizens, so copy possibly €200 per country for the work permit times 27 is €5,400 if you were to perform in each country, plus the red tape of applying 27 times. And then, let's not forget the Carnet. You might have to require additional manager or agency just to attend to the red tape and bureaucracy, but then you have to consider the healthcare charge. There is a big question if healthcare can be covered by some sort of travel insurance. In some cases, Britain requires a sponsor So it is entirely possible that other countries may follow their example without realizing or caring about the real-life obstacles this may bring with it, which would be exclusion. There could be different financial requirements for each country, even if you were to carry out around a healthy bank statement to display to each country's immigration officer. The issue as it now lingers is too complex and costly for the greater number of performers to work out and make profitable. The issue is really now for the EU Parliament, but the UK citizens cannot do this because they are no longer in the EU. This now needs to be negotiated at a time after Boris Johnson's government has ended their negotiations for the sake of forcing the agreements through, with only 3 hours in which the House of Commons could choose his deal or no deal, both of which are very inferior to what each side had previously for performers and entertainers. I have worked on professionally paid political petitions in the far distant past, and what was easy to see is that paid petitions do better than volunteer petitions. So guess what this will cost you? How about nothing? It costs only a couple minutes to retweet this petition from your Twitter account or any other social media account you may have. Send out an email. As I have mentioned earlier, as it turns out, I found out Brexit currently does not really affect me much. This petition is mostly for other people, so perhaps this petition is for you. I'll certainly forward it if and when it gets some signatures, and when I feel the time is right. I'll forward it to the UK Parliament. As of this video, I've already put over 60 hours into this. I was going to ask for a monetary donation for my time, but if I send out a good chunk of emails and go on Twitter and try to compete with the birds, and I get all the response you would expect from a bunch of why should I care? I'm not a necromaniac. A congratulations goes out to the petition titled Seek Europe-Wide Visa-Free Work Permit for Touring Professionals and Artists for getting over 220,000 signatures and obviously having the help to push it through. Their petition has now received a response from the government, and I've read it, and the short answer is that it is a bit misleading and confusing. I'll make another video on this in the near future. Go ahead and sign my petition on 38 Degrees. It can be located at lukefictitious.com or from the Twitter account. The issue may go for lingers unresolved. Brexit was sold on a series of lies. The biggest one being that £350 million will go to the national healthcare system. And the second one is that the UK would regain control over immigration. We can see that this is also to some degree a lie. As the pandemic has shown, all of a sudden, all the European countries do seem to have control over their own borders. The subject requires a good deal of time to go into great depth of study and explanation, and it's not the purpose of the video. It's also not my purpose to argue for rejoining. For reasons listed above, I'm just talking about the freedom of movement for entertainment. So of course I would support the freedom of movement or more easier access all over the world. There are some interesting videos on the way, including talk videos about the music videos and the guitar that's now on sale on eBay. So Do subscribe to the channel. Thanks.